hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be talking about ableist misconceptions and what we wish people would know about our disability and use of mobility aids. Since using a wheelchair full-time, I went straight from being able to walk to full-time using a wheelchair. I've dealt with a lot of ableist comments and judgments, and it's incredibly frustrating when people think it's okay to make judgments and comments on your situation when they know nothing about you or about disability. This isn't a new topic at all. It's been going on for a very long time. However, since Stephen Hawking's death, it's been a real problem across social media, especially. People saying that he's now freed from his wheelchair and it was a restriction, and that's caused a lot of upset between the disability community because we're not being listened to and understood, and able-bodied people thinking they're right, they know, despite them having never lived with a disability. Doesn't make sense. So the first, and probably the most important because of this topic I'm going to talk about, is AIDS being looked at as a restriction. This frustrates me so much because there's no common sense behind that thought at all. Our illnesses, our injury, our condition, whatever it is that causes us to need a wheelchair or a mobility aid, that's our restriction. The conditions I have that cause me not to be able to walk, those are my restrictions. Those are what stop me being able to walk. My wheelchair is my freedom, my enablement. Using a wheelchair enables us to get around. Without my wheelchair, I would be bedbound forever, for the rest of my life. That would be it. Because of my wheelchair, I've been able to learn to drive, and I can now leave the house by myself again after 5 years of having to rely on other people constantly. I've been able to travel to meet internet friends, the people I idolise. I've been able to see my friends and make incredible memories with them. Without my wheelchair, I couldn't live. I couldn't cope. My wheelchair gives me my life back, and you can look at it in the same way as a car. A car allows you to get from A to B, to work, to school, to wherever you're going, because you cannot walk that far. That's exactly the same as a mobility aid. But cars aren't a restriction, are they? So why are our aids looked at as a restriction? Crutches and walking sticks that help keep people upright when they have balance problems. That's a really important aid to help them, not a restriction. Another misconception that people have is that we should be praised for doing normal things. It's amazing and incredible and so inspiring that we're able to be happy or do normal things like go to school or learn to drive despite our disability. Yes, we do have restrictions and things that make achievements difficult in life, but we're human beings. We don't want to be treated differently. We don't want to be your inspiration porn anymore. Human beings deserve to be treated that way too. A misconception that I seem to come across a lot is that you cannot be young and have a disability. You're too young to need a wheelchair. You're too young to do this. You're too young to have that. You're right. I think I am too young to have had my life completely flipped upside down in the way that it has been. Who did your comment help? Do you feel better by saying that? Because you certainly don't make me feel any better. Yes, it's frustrating that my life has now changed because of my disability. But I think young people are great at adapting to new things. There are so many young people out there who have a disability. By saying we're too young doesn't help anybody. Disability has no age limit. I wish it did, but it doesn't. One thing that's incredibly frustrating and can be really awkward is this misconception that we can't talk for ourselves, and that if you have a physical disability, you also have a learning disability or mental disability. This drives me bananas, honestly. The amount of times I've been out with friends and they'll completely ignore me and talk to them about me. There was one situation I was out with a couple of friends and we were in a queue. Bearing in mind, to be in this building, you had to be over 18. And there was this lady in the queue in front of us and she kept turning around and giving me that smile. And she then turned to my friends and went, "How old is she?" Like I was a baby in a pram. They clearly felt incredibly awkward because it was that, what is going on? Did she actually just ask that? And it was just one of those situations you just can't wait to be out of. And it happens all the time. We're in shops and it's clearly me that's purchasing something, but they'll talk to my friends and ask them the questions. And it's just, we can talk. We have a voice. We're just not listened to. We are human beings. We just get around a little bit differently. We just want to be treated the same. Constant need to help someone and looking at it as a good deed just because we have a disability. Please, do not jump in front of me to open a door. If you can see someone struggling to do something, offer. Do you need a hand? Can I get that for you? It's either yes please or no thank you. We can do things by ourselves. Since learning to drive especially, I've been reveling in my new independence. Being able to do things by myself, it means the world to me. Because of my illness, there are a lot of things I do struggle to do, and I do have to rely on others for help. But when there's something that I can do, I love it. And of course, I'm going to try my absolute best to revel in that independence. There are times I can't do things and I might struggle and I can't reach things off a shelf. So yeah, if I need help, I'll ask for it or I will accept that offer. But by jumping in front of people and just taking over, again, it's that treating us like children, like we're incapable, and we're not. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes when I've been asked 20, 30 times in a day, it can get a little bit frustrating. If somebody looks like they're struggling, sure, ask for help. You can tell by their body language if they've got it and they're okay. A real frustrating one is when it comes to blue badge spaces. This is something I was talking about on Instagram the other night, actually. When you have a wheelchair, when you use a wheelchair especially, or a lot of other mobility aids, that space at the side of a car is a necessity. Without that, you cannot get out of a car. In some instances, you can go and park in other spaces, you just have to take over two. The issue with that then becomes it might be on a hill, it's too far, it's just not accessible. I see so many people using blue badge spaces and just sitting in their cars and waiting for someone. That's not okay. And they never have a blue badge also. And people who just think, oh, it's closer to the door, so we'll park there. People do need those spaces, and there have been so many times that I've had to then not go somewhere because I can't park. That then means, for instance, I need to go and pick up a prescription, but there's no blue badge spaces left and nowhere else for me to park. That's it, I can't get my prescription then. And with my condition, I struggle to leave the house. So I can only go out once in a few weeks or so, and that's me stuffed then. And you've made my life incredibly difficult. So please be mindful of blue badge spaces and only park in them if you have a blue badge and you need it. This misconception that we're not quite good enough, we're not okay, we need help and we need to be prayed for. I was once out, I'd been in hospital for a little while, and I was out for a little break, like a little roll for the afternoon, and somebody came up to me and a friend, and they were going around and asking to pray for people. They'd asked if there's anything about my life that I'd want to change. I said no, I'm fine. In the end, they ended up praying that I would be fixed and I'd be able to walk again and this and that. And at the end of the prayer, they asked if I would be able to stand up to prove that I'd then now be able to walk. They didn't take no for an answer. And they kept asking and they kept asking. I'm okay. I'm learning to accept my disability and love my wheelchair. As I said previously, without my wheelchair, I would not be able to get around at all. My disability is something that's come as a consequence to my illnesses. This is something I can't change. I now look at my disability as another trait. I have blonde hair, I have blue eyes, and I have a disability. To me, it's nothing more than that and nothing less. It's just another part of me, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to be fixed. I don't need you to pray for me. And it just makes us feel like we're not good enough and we're not okay when we feel like we're doing alright. The misconceptions that we can't date, we can't be in a relationship, and the big taboo, we can't have sex. There are so many amazing videos on YouTube about this that I'll link in the description box. Like I said, it's just a massive misconception. We can date, we can have relationships, and we can have sexual relationships. No, it's not okay just to go up to someone and ask, can you have sex? Like, don't be an idiot, please. And another misconception that annoys me the most is that it's okay just to go up to someone and say, why are you in a wheelchair? It isn't. I get it so many times, and my problem with this is there are people out there who have either been abused, who have been through traumatic accidents, or who are struggling to come to terms with their disability. If you go up to them and just say, why are you in a wheelchair? You can really harm their confidence. I struggle to leave the house. I only get to leave the house once in a while. But when I do, if I'm out with my friends or whatever, I just want to enjoy that time. I just want to have a little bit of time to feel a bit more normal with my friends and enjoy that time and make some memories. I don't need somebody to ask why I'm in a wheelchair and bring me down, really. It's not your right to ask, and you don't have a right to know. I've had people get quite angry with me before because I didn't want to answer. It's just not okay. It's not your business and you don't need to know. Another one I get a lot is because I wear a lot of joint support and braces and things and splints. They'll say, oh, someone's been in the wars. Oh, have you been getting up to trouble? And then I've got that awkward moment of, no, I have a long-term illness. But again, people don't get it. It's not okay just to ask somebody why they're in a wheelchair. You never know what somebody's going through. Just be kind and empathetic. There are so many more things I could cover, but now I'm going to go on to what we wish able-bodied people knew about our disability. It's not all of who we are, and it doesn't define us as people. As I said earlier, to me my disability is just a trait, just an extra part of who I am, and it doesn't make me who I am. A lot of the times I've been described as disabled. Personally, I don't like that term. You might describe other people, oh, you know, they're female, they've got blonde hair, blue eyes, they wear glasses, but she's disabled. We're so much more than the mobility aid we use. One thing I wish people would do is teach their children about disability. I had to go out the other day at a time when a lot of kids were around, and it made me feel so self-conscious. I understand completely. Kids are curious, they're learning about the world and they don't understand. Teaching them about disability and helping them understand helps us a lot. I don't mind that kids stare really, and I don't mind that they ask questions because, like I said, they're curious, they don't understand. The people that just don't stare and pull their kids away, you're not helping. They're older life. Your kids are going to be the ones that are making rude comments, making people like me need to make these videos about ableist people. So teach them, let them know that we get around a little differently. We're still human beings. Another big thing is about ambulatory wheelchair users. So these are people that can still stand and walk a little while or a small distance, but will get tired after a while. Will be in a lot of pain after a while, may get really dizzy and have balance problems, so they use wheelchairs to help them to prevent injury. If they're in a store and they can't reach something, they can still stand and get that. It's not okay to abuse these people, to call them fakers, to do this, that and the other. But using a wheelchair isn't that fun. Yes, it's a necessity, but that doesn't mean that it's all fun and games. And on the same note, don't just assume somebody can walk. I've been asked so many times, can you stand up? Can you walk? And it can be frustrating, and days when I'm having a down day or I'm struggling, I don't want to be constantly reminded of my disability. I'm not sure how much of this video just made much sense because I'm a little bit brain fogged, but there are a lot of ableist misconceptions and ableist comments that go around nowadays, and people thinking they can just talk on our behalf. They know how we're feeling, and you don't. I've had people say, you can't do that. You're disabled. You also can't speak for me, and you don't know what I can and can't do on my restrictions. Disability is different for everybody. Everybody has different abilities and restrictions. Don't label us. Our mobility aids are a help. They are an aid. They are not a restriction, and they don't hold us back. I hope this video has helped teach one person alone about disability. At the end of the day, all we want is to be treated like human beings, no different to anybody else. Look past our aid, look past the wheelchair, the crutches, the frame. Remember, we're human beings just like anybody else, and we don't need to be treated differently. If you saw somebody struggling in a supermarket, whether they have a disability or not, I'm sure you'd help them. Just because somebody uses an aid doesn't mean that we're any more special, that we want to be treated differently. We're just human. I hope this video has proved some of your misconceptions wrong, and if you do have a disability and if you have anything you'd like to add, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!